How you doing, guys? Big Mech Dancecall here again today, back once again with another episode of Warhammer Thoughty. And in today's video we're going to be talking about a couple of miniatures that were previewed at the recent Horus Heresy and Necromunda Weekender. But wait a minute, do you want the chance to win these miniatures? Or one of them? If you'd like that chance, make sure you check out this giveaway competition. So guys, as I said in the intro, there was a fair few miniatures previewed at last weekend's, when this is going out, last weekend's Horus Heresy and Necromunda weekend, but there was two in particular that caught my eye. Now these two miniatures are two that will definitely test my New Year's resolution to the limit and probably push it beyond the limit. One of those miniatures is the glorious, glorious Primark of the Imperial Fists, Rogal Dorn. Amazing. So he is basically the Primark of the Imperial Fists, as I just said. But I'm just going to talk you through a few things I like about this miniature. I think the armour is absolutely beautiful without being too bulky. There's an image here that the armour is very ostentatious and a bit impractical, you might say, in this image. And in some of the artwork, I'll flip through different images here. So in some of the artwork we've seen in the past, John Blanche's artwork and various artists' artwork, the armour's over the top and a bit impractical for the battlefield and stuff like that. So this is a fine interpretation of the artwork, in my opinion. It's absolutely beautiful. But the thing I most like about this miniature more than anything, well, let's talk about the pose first, actually. I think the pose is absolutely perfect for someone like Rogal Dorn. He's supposed to be the Castellan of Terror, if you like. He fortified Terror in preparation for Horus and the traitor legions coming to Terror to try and kill the Emperor, basically. And this image of him stood... I keep looking down, by the way, because I'm looking at the image on my iPad. This image of him just stood there with his cloak billowing out behind him in the breeze. I think it's absolutely beautiful, and it's dynamic without having any real motion in his actual stance. He's clearly just stood there waiting for something to happen, waiting for the next legionnaire, traitor legionnaire, to try and approach him so we can take him out as well. And I really like that artwork. It's dynamic without being dynamic, if you get me. The face, let's talk about the face. I really like the face personally. I think there's, in all the artwork you've seen cycling here, for me, this face is really, it captures all of the artwork. Dawn is supposed to be grim. And the face, for me, captures the artwork perfectly. It's just like, oh, what have I got to deal with here? Like, it's just moody all the time, kind of thing. And Dawn is one of my favourite Primarks. A lot of people don't like him because they think he's an absolute idiot. They think he's too harsh and stuff like that. But I really like him because he is that way. He's too harsh, but he's not quick to anger like Angron is. Funny that, isn't it? That name, Angron. When he's so angry all the time. Yeah, he's not quick to anger like Angron is, but if you push him, he will react. And he's always grim, and he's just about doing the job and being loyal to the Emperor. He's the Emperor's most loyal son, and he'll do whatever he has to do to. Foregoing any pleasantries in order to get the job done. Or he'll try. It might not succeed in the end, but there we go. So that's Dawn, and that's what I think about Dawn. I think it's absolutely beautiful. I think the miniature itself, the armour draws on the artwork without being too difficult to move around the battlefield, and without if it was real. without being too impractical for someone to fight and wield a massive chainsword. One thing to note about the chainsword though, a lot of people are saying the chainsword, they wanted it to be bigger, which I can understand that actually. The chainsword could have been bigger, but then how big do you make it without it becoming ridiculous? You look at some, I don't know much about anime, but you look at some swords and stuff in anime and they're massive, and it's like, it just gets a bit daft in the end, doesn't it? So maybe they wanted to steer clear of that look, give it a bit more realism with the size of the sword. But they could have made it a bit bigger probably and still held that realism, just like a massive broadsword or claymore or something, but obviously with teeth on of a chain blade. So that's what I think of the Dorn. I really like the hair as well, the way the hair's blowing in the wind the same way as the cape. And the grim countenance, that's what does it for me. It's absolutely fantastic. Some people say that it looks like he's straining for a poo, but for me, no, that's not what I do when I'm straining for a poo. I go like that, not like that. So anyway, let's move on to the next one, shall we? So, on to Valdor. Now I know what you're thinking. You think I'm going to have a massive rant about this miniature, but I'm not. And I'm not because I've had a week to mull it over. And it's a really nice miniature. It really is. And there's certain parts of it that I like. Look at that base. That base is amazing. The base looks like it's set on Prospero, and it's absolutely fantastic. And then you go to the spear, the weapon. I like the weapon. Some people don't like it because it doesn't look like the one you've seen in the artwork. So let's talk about it this miniature compared to the artwork. So the weapon looks different. Yep. The armour is custodian armour, a bit more ornate, a bit more ostentatious. The head, a lot of people have picked out the head and they've got a real issue with that for some reason and think it's massive. It's possibly just the way it's been painted and shaded, I'd say. It kind of looks like the sides bulge out a bit, but interestingly, if you look at the shield captain, I'll tell you what, I'll put an image of the shield captain up here. If you look at the shield captain, I think his face is like really wide. He kind of has his face and then his head sort of goes out like that, really wide around. And this isn't dissimilar to that, so maybe that's where they're getting the thing about the ugly head from. But yeah, let's now compare this image to the artwork. So the artwork's cycling through here, and Dorn takes the artwork, takes inspiration from the artwork and plays it down, sort of tones it down a bit, makes it a bit more realistic. This one takes the artwork, amplifies it, and then just goes off on a tangent. That's what it seems to do for me, this miniature. Now I've seen the miniature disassembled, and I've seen 360 of the miniature. The images are all up on the Forge World website now. So I've seen the miniature disassembled and 360s of the miniature, and it looks like you can work with it. Should I be paying £60 for a miniature and then having to convert it? Probably not. So let's talk about I want to say demon head or drake head or goat head, or I don't know what head it is on his shoulder pad, on his left shoulder pad. I don't know where that's come from, whether that's in maybe a short story or something like that. This is a thing as well. These are just visual images. I've not read all of the stories with with Valdor in. So I've not read all the stories with Dorn in either. So my image of him in my head is purely based on the artwork. So the sculptor may have taken inspiration from short stories and stuff like that, and then sort of blown them up, and that's where the skulls come from on his left shoulder, and the sort of weird cyber eagle integrated into his right shoulder. It's odd. It's just a bit, I'd say, unnecessary. Now, if he didn't have all this, and you put him next to a normal custodian, would he just look like a normal custodian? Yes and no, I'd say. He'd fit in with them a lot more, and he'd stand out a lot less. It's as simple as that, I think. So maybe that's why he's added all this, and then the pelt coming down, the feathers on the shoulder, and the skull on that shoulder. But overall, it's a lovely looking miniature. It's a really nice sculpt by the looks of it, and it's Is it Valdor? It's definitely an artist's interpretation of Valdor. The sculptor has done his own interpretation of it. That's not what I was imagining or hoping for when I was eagerly anticipating a Valdor miniature. But one thing to note, one thing to finish on a positive, I really like the fact that he's got what looks like a scroll in his hand, which is probably the Emperor's Writ. Now the Emperor's Writ is like the note of, I don't know what to call it, like a note of office, a subpoena or something like that. It's the wanted notice of Magnus, basically, and the Thousand Sons Legion. It's what the Emperor gave to Valdor to go and collect Magnus, bring him back to Terra, but get Russ on the way, and then Russ'll get him. Russ'll do all that, because a Primark can only be ordered around by another Primark at least, not a member of the Custodian Guard. So yeah, it's a really nice miniature. It's just not what I was expecting. The feathers and that on the shoulder, the skull, but I think I can work with it, and whether I get it in the future or not, I imagine I will, because I've been waiting for a Valdor miniature for ages. Yeah, so the miniature overall, I really like the miniature, and I'm slowly coming round to it. When I first saw it, it was a bit because it wasn't what I was expecting. But it's a beautiful sculpt, and I think I can work with it if I do eventually get it. And again with Dorn, if I get him, I think with my New Year's resolution this year, it will be tested to a certain extent with Dorn and with Valdor, but I've pledged to not get Dorn until I've got at least one of his brothers painted up. Now, the Angron miniature, I need to go back to that at some stage, and I've got this miniature here, which is Magnus. So Magnus will be priority ahead of buying Dorn, but I don't even think I'll get Magnus painted up this year. We'll see, I might do, but hopefully I'll get Angron painted up in the coming months, and you can see him on a spinny if I get a turntable as well. Yeah, we'll leave it there, guys. I just wanted to get this up, sharing a few of my thoughts a bit more in depth than I have done previously. There we go. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Let me know what you think of the miniatures. Do you think that Valdor's got a big head? Do you think Dorn looks like he's having a poo? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you on the battlefield.